Just to go back in time a little bit, and in case you forgot already, when asked about the Phoenix Suns' expectations about a quarter of the way into the season, Devin Booker said this.
I mean, saying it respectfully, I don't know how teams are going to guard us.
And now, here they are, down 3-0 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, on the brink of being eliminated from the playoffs. And of all the series that are going on right now, this is probably the least surprising one, other than Nuggets-Lakers. Because a lot of the problems that they're facing with this team right now were issues that they had last season and didn't address, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about here. Throughout the last, I want to say, about 14 or 15 months, the Phoenix Suns have been just making insane decision after insane decision that didn't really make any sense at the time. And that's led them to the point where they are now, where next season, they are paying Bradley Beal $50 million. They are paying Kevin Durant $51.1 million. They are paying Devin Booker $50 million, essentially, 49.7. You're already locked into $150 million just from those three dudes alone, and also $18 million for Yusuf Nurkic, and also Grayson Allen's contract that hasn't even been added to the books yet. How in the world did this happen? In order to truly understand, we need to go back to February of 2023, which of course was when the Phoenix Suns decided to trade for Kevin Durant. The trade which had all types of moving pieces, but just for what we're concerned about here, it sent Kevin Durant and TJ Warren to the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns traded Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson to the Nets, and Jay Crowder was sent to the Milwaukee Bucks, along with a bunch of draft picks involved in this trade. And at the time, it was sort of crazy because you realize that they basically just traded away most of their depth and defensive pieces. Mikal Bridges was an incredible defender for this team. Cam Johnson, same thing, also a great floor spacer. Jay Crowder was, at that point, he was just kind of there, but those are good quality pieces, and you trade those for Kevin Durant, who, I mean, his main job is putting ball in hoop, but you're going to be lacking a lot of depth, as they found out in that playoffs. A lot of people talk about the Nuggets series in which Kevin Durant and Devin Booker both went nuclear to win 2 games, but their first round matchup against the Clippers was the exact same thing, if not even a little bit worse. In their first round series against the LA Clippers, they won in 5 games, which, context, Kawhi Leonard played 2 games that series, and Paul George didn't play at all, and still, the Clippers were somewhat competitive in most of the games. But to win this series, Devin Booker averaged 37 points, shooting 60% from the field, 47 from 3, 86 at the free throw line. Kevin Durant averaged 28 points, shooting 52% from the field, 46 from 3, and 96% at the free throw line. And also, great play from DeAndre Ayton, 16 points per game, 11 rebounds, but they go on to win that series, obviously. Then they faced the eventual champion Denver Nuggets in the second round. And this was the series where basketball in general just stopped making sense. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant combined to average 60 points per game. Booker shot 57% from the field and 55% from 3 in the series. He had a 2-game stretch, which was the 2 home games in Phoenix, where he averaged 42 points, shooting 79% from the field. That's what it took for this Phoenix Suns team to win 2 games in this series. And by the way, they won both of those games by single digits. Pretty much everybody assumed that the Suns would look at that and say, okay, we need to figure out what we're going to do with the rest of the roster, because obviously we have something special here in Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. We just need to get them some offensive help because we relied on them a lot in the series. We need to get them some defenders because we traded away all of our defense. And so they go into the 2023 offseason, and the first thing they do is they trade for Bradley Beal. This is without a doubt one of the worst moves that they could have possibly made, because not only does this move not solve any of the issues that they had in the playoffs the previous season, you're trading for what is essentially a worse, more expensive version of the player that you already have. And on top of that, you trade away Chris Paul, who is your only point guard on the team, and you trade away even more depth in Landry Shamet, and now you have one of the most expensive contracts in the league on your roster. And not only only that, oh yeah, he has a no trade clause on that contract as well. So now you're basically locked in. They did make some better moves in the offseason, such as trading the angry DeAndre Ayton in a 3-team trade for Grayson Allen. Nasir Little and Yusuf Nurkic were also part of that deal, so that was a good return. But there were several points throughout the offseason and throughout the first half of the year where I would look at the Phoenix Suns team and I would think to myself, like, what is the actual identity of this team? Like, what are they going to be known for? And apart from just scoring, you can't really point to anything in particular. Even then, the way that they were going to do it was going to be crazy, considering, once again, the fact that they didn't have a point guard on the team. They were forcing Devin Booker to be the facilitator. So that's number one. Number two, Bradley Beal. Trading for him was really questionable because of also the availability. He had played just 90 games combined in the previous 2 seasons. He missed 42 games in 2022 and he missed 32 games in 2023. So that was always going to be a concern. And now this season, he wasted no time with a back injury that sidelined him for most of the first half of the season. And he ended up playing 53 games. But of course, they're fine because, like Devin Booker said, nobody can guard all 3 of them. And then they run into Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and proceed to get absolutely blitzed by basically the entire Timberwolves team. This team was doomed from the start, and I think we've already spent a lot of time kind of looking back and understanding how this team got to the point where they are now, where they're down 3-0 on the verge of being eliminated, by the way, as a 6 seed with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. But in order to truly understand how badly this front office messed up, we need to take a look forward as well, because that might even be worse. As I said, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal are 3 of the highest paid players in the NBA. They are all top 10 in earnings next season. As I said, those 3 combined next season will make $150 million. But the real kicker is Bradley Beal's contract, because next season he makes $50.2 million. 25-26, he makes $53.6 million. And 26-27, which is a player option, he is making $57.1 million. And as I said, Bradley Beal has a no trade clause, which means that even if, this is probably already going to become the most untradeable contract in the NBA, if it hasn't already. But even if they wanted to trade him, they actually legally can't unless he walks into that office and demands the trade himself. And on top of all that, they're already on the books for $191 million next season, provided that Eric Gordon, Josh Okogie, and Damian Lee all accept their player options. But that's going to come out to about $8 million of the 191. So that's not really the majority of where this money is actually going. But one thing you also have to consider, that 191 does not take into account Grayson Allen's contract, which is going to be another $17 million a year. Specifically next season, he's making 15.6. It's just, I have no idea where this team goes from here, because on top of all of this, it gets worse somehow. The amount of draft capital that the Phoenix Suns gave up to acquire Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, and just the little moves in between, means that the Phoenix Suns, they own I believe the 22nd pick in the 2024 draft. They have a 2024 second rounder, which is protected, and a 2028 second rounder, which is protected. And that's it. They have 3 draft picks between now and 2030. They've sent 5 draft picks to Washington alone. They sent 3 first-round picks to Brooklyn. That was, of course, the Kevin Durant trade, and a couple others that are just miscellaneous and or have a bunch of variables attached to them. This might be the worst situation that I have ever seen in sports. It actually might be on par with the mid-2010s Nets. Maybe even worse because of the money that's actually involved. Like, it's actually so insane how poorly this went in just over a year. 15 months ago, the Phoenix Suns still had Mikal Bridges, they still had Cam Johnson, still had Chris Paul, still had DeAndre Ayton, Landry Shamet, basically the team that they had in 22, which won 64 games and, of course, got absolutely dog-walked by Luka Doncic in Game 7. But still, it's actually so crazy to think about, because realistically, the only way out of this is blowing the team up. because you would probably have to trade Kevin Durant, which means that your team, depending on how it's constructed, will no longer work at all. Just picturing Devin Booker and Bradley Beal alongside each other and how that would work offensively and defensively. You can't realistically trade Bradley Beal because nobody is gonna want him, and you're probably not trading Devin Booker, who is a franchise cornerstone. But if it ultimately does come down to that, then that's tough. But I know that I didn't really talk much X's and O's in this video, or like anything that really has been going on in the series. That's just because this is exactly what a lot of people just expected. The Minnesota Timberwolves are one of the best teams in the NBA, and realistically probably the only team that is going to challenge the Denver Nuggets. And even then, there's no telling what that series is going to look like because of Minnesota's offense, as they were a pretty average offense throughout the regular season. And Denver, of course, as we all know, is one of the best offenses that we've seen in recent NBA history, especially in the playoffs. And so, Kevin Durant, please stop trying to make teams. It is not working. I really honestly don't have that much more to add. Like, this situation is so horrible that it actually makes no sense. And I honestly just can't even believe that they did all of this. Another thing that I can't believe is that the Miami Heat were able to beat the Boston Celtics in a game. I recently made a video about Heat Celtics game 2, so if you are interested in that, you can watch that video right here. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, hit the bell to be notified when I upload, comment down below what you want to see next, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.